So the purpose of the metal recycling program that we set up here at the Vancouver Restore is to increase the amount of income that the store receives from the scrap metal that is generated through the donation program. And in order to get the highest value, there are some simple tools that are needed, because what you see may not in fact be what the metal is that we want to recycle. So the simple tools I use is a wire cutter. Magnet is probably the most important tool. File is probably the second most important tool. And then a good impact driver, because screws are the principal contaminant that need to be removed. So we're going to start with aluminum, which for the store is probably the highest earning metal in terms of the volume of material and the price per pound. We earn around $1,500 to $2,000 every 6 to 7 weeks. So the key in doing aluminum recycling is what looks to be all one metal, in fact, is two metals, because what holds the top and the bottom together is a rivet. And the rivet sticks to a magnet, which means the rivet is iron. And iron only brings 7 cents a pound. So in order to get the best value from this particular product, one would have to remove the rivets, which can be labor intensive, and we normally don't have the time to do that. So we in fact would recycle this aluminum product as contaminated aluminum and get about 25 cents a pound. And another example of an aluminum product is a can to go for ceiling lights. And again, there's a steel rivet which brings down the value of the aluminum. And this was another piece of aluminum that I pulled out of the supposedly clean aluminum bin. There's a steel rivet that contaminates the aluminum. And so the buyer of our product, one of the first things they'll do when they get a shipment from us, they'll take their magnet and they'll determine whether or not a load is clean or whether or not a load is contaminated. And from their perspective, they're trying to pay the lowest possible price for the product that you're sending them. Whereas our objective is to get the highest possible price by putting in our labor to clean the materials. So this was an oversight on the part of our volunteer not getting that out. But again, it's simple to do with a wire cutter. You just remove it. Now this material went from 25 cents a pound to over 40 cents a pound, just by the simple process of removing that one rivet. So if you can't do anything else, you can sell your aluminum as contaminated and get about 20 to 25 cents a pound. But normally we don't stop there, because we want to get upwards of 70 cents a pound if we can. So the next stage for us, an easy product to separate, are aluminum soda cans. And aluminum soda cans bring 45 cents a pound. But you have to be careful. You don't want to put in any food containers, because there's a lining in the food containers, or in the bottle caps, there's a plastic liner, and that downgrades the value of the aluminum. So if you put food containers in with your pop cans, you'll probably lose 5 to 10 cents a pound. So be sure if you do soda cans that you just do the cans. The pie tins, the aluminum foil, and the food containers can still go in with the general aluminum contaminated. So the next grade of aluminum that we seek to separate is called cast aluminum. You can tell it's cast aluminum by the little circles. That's where the molten metal is poured into the cast in order to come up with this particular shape. And cast aluminum brings us 44 cents a pound. And it comes in a variety of shapes. The top of a light fixture. And again, if you don't remove all the screws or pins that are iron, it'll drop the value of the cast aluminum again back to contaminated aluminum, which would be about 25 cents a pound. The next grade of aluminum we go for is called sheet aluminum or rolled aluminum. And it's aluminum that can be either rolled or bent into the shape that it is. And so again, you check with your magnet. Oh, see there, I thought it was aluminum by its color, but in fact it sticks to a magnet. So if I had recycled these together, my shipment would have been considered contaminated aluminum rather than clean aluminum.
And which metal is that sticks?
Contamination is magnetic materials or iron or steel, whereas aluminum is non-magnetic and it isn't attracted to a magnet. Now these two shapes are very similar, and I thought this was aluminum and it isn't. This one looks like it's yellow brass, just by the color, and that's another deception. Color of material is very deceptive, which is where the file comes in. And the first thing I do is file it and then look at the crack, and the crack is silver in color. So I know what appears to be yellow brass is just a plating on aluminum, so I can recycle this as sheet aluminum. This was another product that visually appears to be yellow brass. When you turn it over, it's silver. So the base metal is aluminum, and it just has a yellow brass plating on it. And sheet aluminum, clean with no contamination, brings 42 cents a pound. And then our highest two grades are called extruded aluminum, principally window frames, sliding glass door frames, but not exclusively. Track lighting may contain some extruded aluminum, and also in computer products, where this cooling fan came out of. And how one can tell a product is extruded is if you look at the shape and it can't be bent or rolled into the shape, then it's extruded. And what extruded means is the molten metal is put through an injection mold that's in this shape. So after it cools, coming out of the injection mold, this is called extruded aluminum. And there's two grades that we shoot for. This particular one is clean, and it's the highest grade of aluminum, and it brings 78 cents a pound. So if you don't throw it in with your contaminated, you go from 25 cents a pound to 78 cents a pound. And this is another piece of extruded. When you look at the end, you can't bend that into that shape. It has to go through an injection mold. Now, it's some common forms of contamination. This was the weather stripping that I took out of a door frame. And originally, I thought by the color that this would be aluminum contaminated with the weather stripping. But it surprised me when I had put a magnet on it. And this is the first time I've seen this. It's actually iron. So had I thrown this in with aluminum, I would have contaminated the aluminum load. Other forms of contamination, here's a piece of rubber that's used as weather stripping. So in order to make this clean aluminum, that weather stripping has to be removed. And it's generally a pretty simple process. It normally slides out, or you can pull it out. And again, by that simple process, I've gone from 25 cents a pound to 78 cents a pound. On that same product, there was glued on a magnetic strip, and so in order to clean up this piece, you have to take a knife and slip it under the magnetic strip and peel it off at where the glue is. Here's another frame, and in this case, the contamination is iron staples. So in order to upgrade this particular product from contaminated to clean, those staples would have to be removed. And here's a screen door frame, and when you apply a magnet to it, there's a little piece of steel in there. There's a spring inside the hinge. And so that's why you need to check everything with a magnet. Because if I put this in with clean, and the buyer checks it on his end and finds that I have iron in there, I've gone from clean aluminum to contaminated aluminum. And on this piece of window frame, the contaminant is the caulking that's on there. So these particular products, depending on the amount of material, if it's less than 5% by weight, they call it lightly contaminated extruded. And lightly contaminated would bring 46 cents a pound, whereas the clean extruded with no contamination is considered 1% contamination, brings 78 cents a pound. So those are the basics of aluminum recycling and ways of upgrading. And the key is, if you have clean products, you want to make sure you don't cross-contaminate it with contaminated aluminum products, because the buyer will downgrade your whole shipment based on what they see and what their magnet tells them when they check the load.